Okay, wait for me to sit down. Let me get my stopwatch. Do you want me to tell you when you're halfway there?
Yes.
Okay.
Why do you sound like Calvin?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Alright, hello everyone. My name is Diana, and I'm an intern from Science Central Studios. I currently am a director of Hiding in Plain Sight production. It's a mystery detective movie that I wrote with Calvin Bowers about 2 years ago, and then we revised it a couple months ago. So the script now is 46 pages, and we decided to shoot a movie out of what we wrote. So I am in for Science Central Studios for about 4 years. We have been in an AV program, and we learned a lot. The first 2 years were kind of a theory, and then the last 2 years we've been practicing and trying to utilize our own skills. So a little bit about me. I grew up in Russia. I went to school in Russia, and I graduated art school there. So I kind of know stuff about art and composition in general, and I just love doing it. I love art, and film is like very amazing to me because you can kind of see how you can put together a story using art and all of your skills and knowledge that you've collected throughout the years. So my main point and essential question for this capstone project and presentation that I'm going to show later is how to utilize your skill in most efficient ways and get to know your industry, because that is what is most important to us as career pathway students, is to know your industry and to know what you're doing and how to utilize it and how to get into industry without being frustrated and constantly thinking about whether I'm doing good or not. So here are some of my sketches that I did for a project. This is what we've been working on. That's the lighting diagram that I did last year for the project that we did called The Day the Bow Broke. So I did a little bit of research about how to make solo films if you are a freelance filmmaker and you want to continue working as a filmmaker and you don't have enough crew. So I searched how to make solo films, and I'm going to show a presentation later on this. So this is just words, and I'm going to show a presentation and verbally explain everything. And then here's the interview with one of my former art school teachers from Russia. It's just a brief explanation of what art means today in the modern art industry in general. It doesn't necessarily connect with the film industry because I wasn't asking like film industry questions. I was just asking a lot of marketing questions and how to get into that career pathway that is connected with art. So one of the questions that I asked and the response that she gave me was very fascinating, is what is the most important lesson that you learned as an artist? And for me, as a person who is constantly doing art and art projects within the film program, I just realized how important it was. She said that if you think that if you work on the commercial side of art, meeting deadlines is more important than value you put into art. The quality is still key, but artists tend to invest part of ourselves into art piece, which is invisible but makes an attachment to art. So if you are going to the film industry and you understand that you have to meet the deadlines, sometimes the piece of you in your art is a little bit invisible and you're not really there. So to me, it's very important to put into art a part of me and not to make it just a commercial thing. So that's why I decided to research some stuff about how to make solo films, because I used to do some real estate for one of our family friends, and it really made me want to do more of that. So here's my presentation so it makes more sense. We start off with pre-production, and I take all this information from Rode.com, which is a microphone company for cinematographers. So the article starts with the first part of the whole thing is with pre-production. So pre-production is the part where you write the script, where you get prepared to make the schedule for the movie, where you make shots, shot lists, and make storyboard. So pre-production, if you are doing it alone, you should do it as organized as possible because it is for you later on. As an editor, as a friend of an editor who's always he has trouble with organizing stuff, and like he's very annoyed whenever someone is not organized. So it's very important for us to be organized so it's easier for you to edit later on. And also, when you're organized, you just have more motivation to work in general. And then the small tip that you should probably remember is whenever you do a shot list for your own film, you should do it as simple as possible so that you're not doing like dolly tracks that you have to carry a dolly for that, and you don't have enough crew to do that, So just create steady shots because you just might want to put a tripod there and not touch it for the rest of the day or something. So basically, don't go over the top with that. You can still make a movie look pretty good if you continue working with perspective and the thirds rule. So make the composition look good and then just leave it there. Some of the camera work might be hard if you are doing it alone and if you are still the talent. That's what I learned from some YouTubers they were giving interview to someone, and my dad is also a YouTuber. I asked him a couple questions. I was like, so how do you do it when you're alone? You have to set up a camera, you have to look at yourself. How do you, you stand up? And he's like, yes, you just literally stand up, make a video, and then go back into place, and then go back and look at the footage. And then so it takes some time before you actually start filming because you have to look at what you're actually doing. And some of the camera work might be easier if you're using the latest cameras. You can go to autofocus, so whenever you're moving, the camera is just following you. You can also do self-tracking shot with the gimbal that we actually practiced in AV in the beginning of the year, and it might be a lot easier than you think. So the camera work is actually something people should do more research about. And I made a link to the tutorial that Canon posted on their YouTube. They show how to do manual focus and all other stuff like that. How to expose. So one of our other students also talked about lighting and how to do that. And we tend to kind of forget that lighting is kind of underrated, just like audio. But lighting is actually pretty important. So for lighting, you don't necessarily have to have more expensive lights, you just have to know the camera settings. And that's what I learned from one of our students who was doing presentation for that. So this article just explains the camera that you might use for that, and the settings and how to go there and what cameras are better or not, Sony versus Canon, and the stuff that you can afford. Because if you are doing this solo and if you are employed by yourself, basically, you want to kind of minimize the spendings on that. And then, as I talked about before, we have some more recent technology that uses your face as a tracking object, so you can set up a gimbal. And I did it at home with a different brand of gimbal that we have at school. It's not that hard, you just have to balance it first with the camera on, and then you have to click on the app, and then the app just shows you the face, and then you just set the tracking mode, and then you can walk back and forth, or if you're just sitting on the table, it will move if you're tilting your head. So there is a tutorial for Zhiyun Crane M2 that I used for my real estate video that I had to do a couple months ago. So audio is 50% of every movie, and obviously if it's very disturbing and it's not good, nobody's gonna wanna watch the movie. So especially if it's something like a YouTube video or a podcast or a project that you wanna do, is audio is basically very important. So Rode company is microphone company for cinematographers, and they have a very good tutorial for that. And you use different type of equipment outside versus inside. So the lighting, I was a gaffer last year, and I did a big project with Charlie as the director of photography, and
Sorry.
bless you. And I learned along the way that I used to be, I was very interested in lighting in my sophomore year, but then like as we went on to junior year and we did a bigger project, I realized that I don't know anything about lighting because Mr. Hanlon just gave me the book and he was like, here, do you want to read it so that you know and you feel more confident? Because I kept struggling with like what equipment do I use, because we have so many miscellaneous things that I can use, and I want to be as professional as I can. So I did a lot of research. I watched so many tutorials. I read the book completely so that I knew some of the diagrams that are most common, some of the equipment that I can just keep in my brain and be like, okay, so yeah, we can light this with 360, and then we can put a fill light over here with 150, like all of that jazz. So basically, just watch a lot of tutorials and ask questions to people. And one of my conclusion for my project, this is us, this is our crew for Hiding in Plain Sight, was so my conclusion is, if you are considering to be a filmmaker, cinematographer, then you should be able to stay organized. There's a system to do that for you if you do have a crew, and then stay on schedule. No directors are around to tell you what to do or how to motivate you. So you should have basic knowledge in all departments and have some experience if you are doing this alone. Basically, you're working for all departments. And the last sentence that really kind of stands with me until today: lack of information does not excuse lack of quality. Do research, find instructions, books, pictures, ask professionals, because film industry is something that is around us, and you have a professional that you can come up to and ask questions to. We live in Atlanta amongst some of the biggest studios here, so it's not very uncommon to come up and ask the question or do your own research, or if it's obviously a passion for you. That's it. No questions?
No questions, we're good.